Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to Camel Workshop. So today we'll be painting a beautiful sunset winter landscape using the Camel products. About me, so I am Shreya. I am a full-time artist. You can check out my page on Instagram. It's artist Shreya Gada, and I mainly work with watercolors and I paint landscapes, anything related to nature. So yeah, I'll walk you through each and every step on how you can paint this one. But before we start, let me tell you what all we'll be using. So first, let's talk about the paper. So we'll be using this Camlin watercolor paper. It is an A4 size paper which I have just teared it from the book, and I have just applied it on the board, and I've applied the masking tape on all four sides of my paper. Next you will need watercolors. So I'll be using this 24 shade watercolor tubes, artist grade tubes from Camlin, and more or less we'll be using just 5 colors to paint this landscape. I'll just tell you the name. It is Gambuge Yellow, Cobalt Blue, Crimson Lake, Burnt Sienna, and a little bit of Chinese White. And all of those colors I've just poured it on my palette. And next you will need a pencil and eraser. And for the brushes, I'll be using this mop brush to paint the landscape, and a tiny detail brush to just do the details by the end of the painting. Alright, so that's about the materials that you will need. So let's suppose this is the half of my paper. I'm just roughly doing it. So this is the half. I'll just draw about 2.5 inch below the half of my paper. I'll just draw this land area. Whenever you are sketching, just make sure that you are drawing it as light as possible, because watercolor is a transparent medium. Once you will paint on it, the pencil marks shouldn't be seen. I'm drawing it a little bit darker so that you can see it, but make sure that you are using very light hand on your paper. Okay, once I've drawn this main line, I will draw some crooked lines at the bottom, and this would be our lake, this would be our land, and on top of our land we will draw some cabins. So start with the 2 slant line. So the house on the front would be a little bit larger. The rest all we will sketch it a little bit smaller to get an idea that these are up in very front of our eyes, and rest of the houses are a little bit behind. Okay, so I'll draw one more tiny little house. Okay, this all area would be the bushes. So this is everything. We'll be doing it with our brush, so no need to sketch this out. Let me just go through what we did. So first we drew this line. So you can say this is a horizon line. First we drew this line, then we draw the lake line or crooked lines. Then we drew the 2 tiny little houses in the front, and then again we drew a smaller little line behind the bigger house, and I drew a tiny little house just on that line. The rest, this is the bushes. We will be doing it with our brushes. Okay, so before we start, I will just take an eraser and I'll just lighten all of the pencil marks which I have done, so that the pencil mark doesn't show up while we paint. Okay, don't overdo it, otherwise you will just ruin the paper. I will take a larger size mop brush and I'll start applying an even layer of water on the sky. Wet. Now I'll clean off my brush on the tissue. I'll start with the yellow color in between. I'll apply that color. So taking a little bit of blue, again cleaning off my brush completely. Now taking the orange color which we have mixed earlier and applying it at the bottom. Okay. You see, I'm holding my brush very far away from the tip. I'm not holding my brush over here. I'm holding it a little bit far so that I get more natural looking strokes, because I have less control on my brush. And you will see that it will create a beautiful blooms. This is exactly what we want. You can either use your hands or you can use another brush to tap off this brush. It's fine. Now I'll take the purple color which we had mixed earlier, and we will paint the trees and the bushes in the background. Okay, so again holding my brush a little bit far from the tip, and I'm just using the dabbing motion. So I'll dab and lift off my brush, dab and lift off my brush. again using the same dab 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 motion to do that. Be careful around the cabins as you want the roof to be completely white. So yeah, and blue. This time I will add less of water and more of blue color to make it a little bit darker, and I will again add one more layer of the darker purple color around the bush. And with each layer you have to make sure that your paint consistency a little bit thicker than the previous one, so that it doesn't merge a lot and it holds its shape a bit more. Okay, now while this is if you don't have more brush, you can use any brush which you have. Just make sure that if you are using a larger paper, you are using a larger brush. If you are working on a smaller paper, use a smaller brush. So just think logically and see what kind of brush would suit the size of paper you are using. Okay, but you can use any larger brush to paint the sky. All right. Now let's paint the water part while this is drying. So again, we will be using the same wet on wet technique to paint the lake area. Okay. Applying clean water onto the lake part. Next, I will again start with the yellow. I'll apply that color, leaving some gaps in water. Okay. So this will be like a little bit of reflection of the bushes on the water. Okay. Okay, that's with water. Dab off the excess paint on the tissue and then just apply a little bit of blue color on the snow area. Okay. Make sure that you are leaving a little bit of white gap in between. Alright, that's all for the snow part. We won't darken it a lot because we want the snow to be the lightest part of our painting. So now we are done with the first layer of our painting. I'm just waiting for everything to be a little bit dry and then we will move on to the detailing part of our painting. More or less almost dried out. Okay, so now let's move on to painting the cabins. So I'll take a smaller detailing brush to paint the cabins, and we will start by painting this part of the cabin. So what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of cadmium yellow and I'll take a little bit of burnt sienna and so this is a lighter brown color. So we'll paint this first layer with the lighter brown color. Okay, so I've mixed my cadmium yellow and a little bit of burnt sienna together, applied a little bit of water to my paint, and we will start painting the cabins. Okay, now as you are doing the detailing part, you need to be more precise while doing that. Okay. So make sure that you are using a smaller brush to paint that around the edge where the roof is meeting the cabin. Okay, so this will create a little bit of shadow. Then I'll clean off my brush and you see that it's creating a very harsh edge. So you just need to do the damp brush technique, that is clean off your brush completely, remove the excess water and just apply the damp brush around the edges very softly to get all the colors mixed together. So that was with the first layer. Now we will let this dry completely. Technique is basically what it says. It is dry brush on dry paper. So My paper is dry because I have not applied any water to it, and my brush is dry because I'm using very thick consistency of paint. Plus I will remove all the excess paint on my paper, and then I will just scratch this on my paper. As my brush doesn't have a lot of paint to it, you will get this beautiful effect. And this is all dry brush technique. You can also directly use burnt umber, or you can also add a little bit of Payne's grey or a little bit of black to your brown to make it darker. You don't need to add a blue to make it darker. You have multiple options how you can mix your brown. And I'll just draw a tiny little dot. Then I will draw one more just beside that, a little bit larger, and with every line I will make it more. Again, you need to use this 90-degree angle rule to get the thinnest looking strokes. Okay. And with the same color, I will add a little bit of shadow of the bonds on the snow. So let's suppose the sun is over here. So we will have the shadow on the opposite side. Okay. And I'll also use the same blue color. So yeah, I've just used the white colors on the roof part. Now I will use the same color to paint a little bit of trunk onto the background. So yeah, again using the 90-degree rule to do that. So this will create a little bit of highlight as everything is looking a little way too dark. So yeah, just looking way too flat. So I'll take the blue color, I'll dilute it by adding a little bit of water, and I will just sprinkle that color onto the snow part. Okay. With the same color, I will add a little bit of tiny little grasses on the snow. Okay, now let's add some flying birds. So I'll be using the brush pens to do that, and I'll take the black brush pen to paint the brush dot at the center. As you go far away, just make sure that you are decreasing the size of the birds to make sure that they are flying very far away. Alright, that's all. Now it's time to remove the masking tape. All of my edges are completely dry. So make sure that whenever you are removing the tape, your paper is completely dry. And whenever you are pulling off the tape, just don't pull it straight away. Just pull it away from the paper so that you don't end up tearing your paper. Okay. Write your name and date and just put your signature by the end of your painting. Alright, and we are done. Let me know if you guys have any doubt regarding anything. Like I said, you can re-watch the video on the Camlin website where you have registered for this workshop. If you missed anything, again, if you are uploading it on Instagram, make sure that you tag me, that is @artistReyaGada, and you tag Coco Camel so that we can watch your beautiful paintings and repost your work. Alright guys, I'm signing off. See you all next weekend with another workshop. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you had fun painting with watercolors, and I hope I made it a little bit easier for you to work with watercolors. Alright, so have a good day, and I'll see you all